Have you ever felt lost, searching for answers to life's biggest questions? Like, how can I be a better person? How do I find my way back when I've messed up? What's the best way to live a meaningful life? You're not alone in asking these things. Thousands of years ago, people gathered around a man named Jesus, asking very similar questions. And his answers weren't always direct. Instead, he told stories, simple, relatable stories with incredibly deep meanings. We call them parables. Today, we're going to dive into 3 of his most famous parables. These aren't just ancient tales. They are timeless lessons, like a spiritual compass designed to guide us through the challenges we face right here, right now. We'll explore the stories of the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son, and the sewer. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's uncover the wisdom hidden in these powerful narratives. Let's start with a question Jesus himself was asked: "Who is my neighbor?" This question led to the parable of the Good Samaritan, found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10. The story goes like this. A man was traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, a notoriously dangerous road. He was attacked by robbers who stripped him, beat him, and left him for dead on the side of the road. Soon after, a priest came along. Seeing the man, he crossed to the other side of the road and continued on his way. A little later, a Levite, another respected religious figure, did the exact same thing. He saw the suffering man, and he too passed by on the other side. Now, you'd expect these to be the heroes of the story, right? But they weren't. Then, a Samaritan came along. Now, it's crucial to understand that Samaritans and Jews at that time deeply disliked each other. They were cultural and religious rivals. Yet, when this Samaritan saw the injured man, the scripture says he took pity on him. He didn't see an enemy. He saw a human being in need. He went to him, bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day, he gave the innkeeper money and said, "Look after him, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Jesus then asked the expert in the law, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." So what's the lesson for us today? It's revolutionary. Our neighbor isn't just the person who lives next door or someone from our own community, religion, or background. Our neighbor is anyone we encounter who is in need. The parable challenges our prejudices and our comfort zones. It asks us, are we willing to stop, to cross the road, to get our hands dirty, to help someone, even if they're different from us? It redefines love, not as a feeling, but as an action. Compassion in action. In a world often divided by us versus them, this story calls us to see the humanity in everyone and to respond with kindness, regardless of the cost. Now, let's turn to a story about forgiveness, belonging, and a love that seems almost too good to be true. The parable of the prodigal son, also from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. This story has three main characters: a father, his younger son, and his older son. The younger son goes to his father and demands his share of the inheritance now. This was a huge insult, essentially saying, "Dad, I wish you were already gone." Shockingly, the father agrees. The son takes the money, travels to a distant country, and, as the scripture says, squandered his wealth in wild living. He parties it all away until a severe famine hits the land, and he finds himself broke, starving, and feeding pigs, a deeply degrading job for a Jewish man. At his absolute lowest point, he came to his senses. He realizes that even his father's hired servants have it better than he does. So, he rehearses a speech. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants." He begins the long journey home, filled with shame and expecting, at best, a servant's position. But here's the most beautiful part of the story. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The father doesn't even let him finish his speech. He doesn't say, "I told you so." Instead, he calls for the best robe, a ring for his finger, and sandals for his feet. He orders the fattened calf to be prepared for a huge celebration, declaring, "For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." This story is a powerful picture of unconditional love and grace. The Father represents a loving God who doesn't wait for us to be perfect. He runs to us in our mess, ready to forgive and restore us completely. It's a reminder that no matter how far we VA strayed, or how badly we VA messed up, the door is always open for us to return home. We are not defined by our worst mistakes, but by the love that eagerly awaits our return. It's a message of incredible hope for anyone who feels they've gone too far to be welcomed back. But the story isn't over. There's the older brother. He'd been working hard in the fields. When he hears the party, he gets angry and refuses to go in. He tells his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." His resentment is palpable. He kept the rules, but his heart was far from his father. This part of the parable is a warning against self-righteousness. It is possible to do all the right things on the outside, but have a heart filled with bitterness and judgment. the father's gentle response is, "My son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." But we had to celebrate, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. This challenges us to check our own hearts. Do we celebrate when someone finds their way back, or do we resent the grace they're shown? It teaches us that true connection is about love and forgiveness, not just rule-keeping. Finally, let's look at the parable of the sower. Found in Matthew chapter 13, Jesus tells a story about a farmer who went out to sow his seed. As he scattered it, some seed fell along the path, and birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places, where it sprang up quickly, but withered under the sun because it had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. But some seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Later, Jesus explained this parable to his disciples. The seed is the message of God's kingdom. The different types of soil represent different ways people respond to this message. The seed on the path is like someone who hears the message but doesn't understand it. And the evil one, or worldly distractions, snatches it away before it can take root. Have you ever heard something inspiring but forgot it 5 minutes later because your phone buzzed or you started thinking about your to-do list? That's the path. The rocky ground represents someone who hears the message and receives it with joy. They're excited at first, but when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Their faith is shallow. It lacks deep roots to sustain them through tough times. The thorny ground is the person who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke it, making it unfruitful. This is so relevant today. We can get so consumed by our careers, our anxieties, and our desire for more stuff that the most important things get crowded out. Finally, the good soil represents someone who hears the message, understands it, and accepts it. It takes root in their life and produces a great harvest. This means their life is changed, and that change positively impacts others. The parable of the sower is a call to self-examination. It asks us, what kind of soil is my heart? Are we allowing distractions to steal the truth? Is our faith shallow, only good for the easy times? Are we letting worry and materialism choke our spiritual life? Or are we cultivating a heart that is receptive, a good soil where good things can grow? The great news is we can work on our soil. We can clear the rocks and pull the weeds to make our hearts more receptive to the good things that can transform our lives. These parables, the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son, and the sower, are more than just charming stories. They are deep, practical lessons for life. They teach us to love actively, to embrace forgiveness, and to cultivate a heart that is ready to grow. They show us a path toward a more compassionate, grace-filled, and fruitful life. The beauty of Jesus' teaching is its timeless relevance. The challenges of prejudice, failure, and distraction are as real today as they were 2,000 years ago. So I encourage you, take one of these lessons and think about how you can apply it this week. Who is the neighbor in your life that you can show kindness to? Is there a part of your past you need to accept forgiveness for? What weed might you need to pull from the soil of your heart?